Probably doesn't have, brings up some controversial feelings to people in the United States due to, terrorism and people directly associating Islam with terrorism.
I feel like that's really one class of people that are really misrepresented in media, and that's something that needs to change.
But I think historically speaking, a lot of things are overlooked, and a lot of advancements and a lot of progress is really discounted just because it's associated with Islam as a religion, and it's not really given a fair chance to be considered.
There have been a lot of voices from within the Muslim world that have protested against acts of violence, radicalism, and extremism. And that, unfortunately, is not being shown enough in the media. So I oftentimes come across people who say, why hasn't there been enough condemnation of terrorism or extremism in the Muslim world? And I say, there has been a lot. So many different scholars and writers and authors and average people have written and talked and protested and demonstrated against all acts of violence, extremism, and terrorism. In fact, recently, just I think a couple of months ago, there has been a big rally in the heart of Washington, D.C., right in front of the White House, by a group of Muslim scholars and religious people and Muslim activists and ordinary people raising banners against the group Boko Haram and saying that these actions are completely un-Islamic and have nothing to do with the faith, and asking for the return of the girls who were kidnapped. And one interesting sign actually read, Boko Haram is Buku Haram, which means it's very, very haram or very forbidden. So I think it's important to also, whenever these acts of protest or objection to terrorist acts and fanaticism are there, that the media should also acknowledge that this has been taking place, and that there have been Muslim voices that have been really raised against all of these acts, because the public needs to know that this has been done and such actions have been actually taking place.
For people to say that Islam doesn't support Western education or doesn't support education, kind of with everything going on right now, people being taken out of being productive members of society and going to do these horrendous crimes and taking away for what we're meant to do, the first few words that actually the Prophet Muhammad received was listen and read and recite.
For us, it's like a huge deal to read, to be literate, to study, and that's what we constantly remind our kids, so that they think it's a very holy activity to become knowledgeable.
A lot of us are brought up with the misconception that nothing really went on in the world between the end of the Roman Empire and the beginning of the Renaissance. But the truth of the matter is, between that period, it's often referred to as the Islamic Golden Age. And there was a broad range of scientific discoveries, art, literature, and so forth during that period of time.
The center of learning was the Muslim world, that people would seek to send anyone who wanted to advance in different areas, whether it was chemistry or algebra, whether it was mathematics, or whether it was engineering. It would send them to centers that were actually established by Muslims.
Much of the knowledge that we built on in the West, that people in the Renaissance period, for instance, built on, is actually was only available because of translations, because of that transfer of knowledge that happened via these scientists in the Abbasid Caliphate. So you have several aspects here. You have, on the one hand, a multi-religious society, definitely with Muslims on top of that society. Muslims dominate it. Muslims are the ones who rule, are the ones who are in command and who have primacy over everything else. But there is a strong element of tolerance, also of mutual respect, specifically for the knowledge and capacities that members of other religions bring to the table. So that's one element. The other element is that Arab science in the Arabic language, the classical works of science, the classical works of philosophy, are a very important conduit for the transfer of knowledge from late antiquity.
It's a bit hard to believe now, but cities like Baghdad and Cairo were essentially the Silicon Valleys of the world at that time.
Often we feel or are told that there's an inherent clash between faith and science. And indeed, there was a lot of value placed on scientific method and research and so forth that was faith-based or rooted in an idea of getting closer to the Creator and examining His creation.
So, you think about all of these different scientists and scholars who are really multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary in their area of specialization expertise, and their many, many numerous contributions to Western civilization. You ask yourself, why aren't these people and others given enough credit and enough acknowledgement in the media?